Hello everybody, and welcome back to another build on Spellslam. Today we are looking at Zombies, a deck that I've shelved many times and have looked to play before on the channel, but never got around to it. So I'm doing it now, and you know why? Because I got this swamp from Jumpstart in one of those random little packs that they give you that has a Seagate Oracle on it. It gave me 5 copies of this, and it made me think of zombies, and so I decided to rebuild the deck. And there also have been a few 5-0 finishes with zombies in the last few months, so I thought I'd bring it out and take it for a spin. Zombies reminds me a lot of elves and slivers in that there are a lot of zombie synergy cards at common, which is not something that you see with all tribes. And the main synergy cards that I want to point out here are Shepherd of Rot and Gempalm Polluter, because they give you that endgame power that you don't see with other aggro decks. Shepherd of Rot is my favorite one. It's 2 mana 1/1, and it taps to have each player lose 1 life for each zombie on the battlefield. This can easily be 4 or 5 damage just for tapping. Keep in mind though that you do take the damage yourself, and it counts all zombies in play, which can be relevant. Gempalm Polluter, you never really cast it for 6 mana for 4/3. That's terrible stats, but you can cycle it for 2 black mana, which means that you discard it to draw a card, but when you do, you can have target player lose life equal to the number of zombies on the battlefield, which again counts your opponent's zombies. So these can really finish off a game very quickly, and it's especially good against the Tron decks right now that are running Stonehorn Dignitary, which prevents you from attacking, and Infinite Fogs, which makes it so that you can't really attack reliably. This gives you a way to win through that. Other zombie synergy cards are Ghoul Caller's Chant, 4 of them in the deck. It's 1 mana to return 2 zombie cards from your graveyard to your hand, which is amazing rate. And it allows us to have a lot of staying power through removal and whatnot. So really powerful card. We've got Ghoul Raiser here. I'm not such a huge fan of this card, but it does have its purposes. It's a 3 mana 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you return a zombie card at random from your graveyard to your hand. So it's the at random that kind of gets me. I get that it's a cheaper Gravedigger, but it has its weaknesses, of course. Other zombie synergy, we've got Nameless Inversion, which you don't really see outside of zombie decks, really, but it's a 2 mana shapeshifter tribal instant, which means that it's all creature types, and it gives a creature +3/-3, and it's usually used as a kill spell. And what's great about this is that you can actually get it back from your graveyard with cards like Ghoul Raiser and Ghoul Caller's Chant, which makes it a really powerful option for us. Unfortunately, there aren't that many good targets for a -3 ability, so oftentimes things like Defile and Geth's Verdict end up being better options. So you're seeing this as a one-of in this deck. In terms of other zombies to kind of fill out the deck, we've got 3 Carnophages, 1 mana 2/2. You at the beginning of your upkeep, you either tap it or you lose 1 life, a very aggressive creature. You've got Carrion Feeder, one of my favorite creatures in Magic. Can't block, but you can sacrifice a creature to put a +1/+1 counter on it, which is really good against removal, really good against opposing decks when you're on the aggressive side. It makes combat math really complex for them. We've got 4 copies of Festering Mummy, which is a card that I'm not a fan of. It's probably my least favorite zombie in the whole gang, but it is a good card for what it does. It's a 1 mana 1/1, but when it dies, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. We're coming a long way from cards that we used to play in the past, where it would be either -1/-1 till end of turn, or you would have to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, so opponents could kind of mess with that. This is pretty much the best it can be. We've got 4 copies of Lazotep Reaver, which is kind of the reason why this deck has come back in the last year or so. This is a 2 mana 1/2 that also amasses 1. So for 2 mana, you get 2 zombies and 2 power and 3 toughness, which is an amazing rate. And I can imagine you can recur this multiple times over and kind of grow your amass token, or you can do the opposite, and you can sacrifice your amass token and then recur the Lazotep Reaver and then get another amass token and kind of go wide that way as well. And then the last, I say filler zombie, but this is a pretty good zombie. It's a 2 mana 1/1. It's called Butcher Ghoul, and it has Undying, which means that if it dies and it had no +1/+1 counters on it, you return to the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. So works really well with Carrion Feeder, works well with all sorts of stuff, namely Village Rites, which is a 2 of in our deck. Really good M21 card, 1 mana, instant speed, sack a creature, draw 2. So it works well with Butcher Ghoul, works well with Festering Mummy, works well against removal, just a really nice card to have. Moving on to the sideboard, we've got 3 copies of Defile, 2 copies of Duress, 2 copies of Shrivel. This could probably be the new Suffocating Fumes, 3 mana instant that gives -1/-1 to creatures your opponents control at instant speed. So really, really nice. And it also cycles for 2. I'm not sure if it's, this is cheap at 2 mana, pretty much as cheap as it gets, but the other one only affects your opponent's creatures, which can be really relevant as a combat trick. Gets Verdict, a 4th copy in the sideboard. We've got 1 copy of Wrenchmine, 1 copy of Reaping the Graves, 1 copy of Choking Sands, 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb, and 2 copies of Salvic Lifestaff. Really love the Lifestaff in these kinds of decks. It works really well with Carrion Feeder, works well against aggressive decks, works well against decks with lots of removal. It helps us stay alive. Really, really nice. So that is Zombies. I really, really hope you guys enjoy that, and we will see you next time.